Hi guys, and welcome back to the Video Game with Powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video, I'll be giving you guys my in-depth review of the board game Punica, Rome vs. Carthage. Now, Punica, Rome vs. Carthage is a board game for 2 players, right around 20 minutes per playthrough, ages 14 plus, and this one is coming to you from the team over at PHALANX Limited. This one is designed by Mariusz, Rosik, and the artwork here is by the Mihajlo, who, if you are familiar with the Raiders of the North Sea, South Tigris, West Paladins series, he does that artwork as well. I also want to give a huge shout out to the team over at PHALANX for giving us or sending us a rare copy of this game so that we can create content on our channel. If this is your first time watching a review video from us, guys, we go a little bit more in depth than maybe some other content creators do, and we break the game down into several different categories. These categories are theme, components, setup, length, difficulty, replayability, and price. Within each of these 7 different categories, I will give them a number rating equivalent to the BGG scale, and at the conclusion of me talking about these 7 different categories, I will give my overall rating for the game, where I'll talk about some things I really enjoyed about the game and some things that I particularly did not like. And last but not least, since majority of these games I do review on our channel, I have either backed on either Kickstarter or GameFound, I will ask the proverbial question: if I had the opportunity to back these games again, would I do so? All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump straight in, starting off with the theme. So when it comes to the theme, we are taking a look at how well the game immerses players in its setting or overall story. And I'm gonna go ahead and give Punica a 7.5 out of 10. Now, Punica is a game that is set during the Punic Wars, which is 264 to 146 BC, and players are either going to take on the role of Rome or Carthage, okay? And this is a area control, hand management style game where you guys are gonna be taking turns going back and forth, using actions to move around the board, using card play to kind of move around the board, to engage in battles with your opponent to try and defeat all of their armies or basically take control of their capital to be victorious. So in regards to this theme, I think there is a good theme here. I think this theme is present and it does make sense. However, I do feel that the theme can sometimes feel secondary when it comes to the actual mechanics of the game, right? Yes, the theme is historically grounded, but I don't really feel like it's tied directly into the mechanics of that area control and that hand management, because to me, while the Romans and the Carthage factions do play a little bit differently, there is no like asymmetric powers that they have to really differentiate themselves from one another. On their cards, the actions that they're taking are one of the 4 basic actions that you can take in the game, like move a unit or attack a unit or something like that, right? They all have base actions. It's just maybe one unit moves more of their fleet, the other unit moves more of their army units, rather than saying like, hey, these Roman legion units, right? When they engage in battle, they get +1 strength or something like that. Like, every unit is basically the same, and so like I think they kind of missed out a little bit on an opportunity to give this game a little bit more of an asymmetric feel, but I still think that the theme here is good enough to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Really quickly, guys, I do want to go ahead and jump down to the table and show you kind of how these mechanics tie into the theme of the game, and then we'll be back up top here to continue on with the rest of our review. All right, guys, so we're down here at the table where we got everything set up for a playthrough of Punica, Rome versus Carthage. And as I mentioned, guys, the overall objective here is one person is going to take on the role of Rome, the other person is going to take on the role of Carthage, and there are actually 3 different ways to be victorious in this game. The very first one is to control the other player's capital, and basically you are going to do this by having 1 or more of your units in that capital space when they have none at the end of your turn. The second way to victory is by controlling your opponent's areas of influence. So if you manage to control 3 of your opposing player's areas of influence, you will be victorious as well. And the last way you can be victorious is by eliminating all of the other player's units from the game, and there are no units left on the board, then you will be victorious. So that's kind of the overall goal here. Each faction is going to have a deck of cards that they're going to be able to use, and each of these cards are going to have different actions on them. Like I said earlier, you can see that some of the actions between the two factions are different, but they have the same iconography and symbols. It's just going to be able to take more action, more type of one action or others. Like the Carthage guys use more of their fleets than the Romans. You don't see the Romans barely only have one action that's using the fleets, where the Carthage have two actions where they can use their fleets. So that is kind of the overall premise of the game. Like I said, there's some cool historical things about this game, and it is historically grounded, but you can just see it gets to a point where you're just trying to figure out what moves you want to make to move your units over here to defeat your opponents, which is where these mechanics can kind of sometimes be secondary to the theme of the game. But I'm still giving this one a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, I'm gonna stay down here really quickly, guys, and talk about the components. So when it comes to the components, we take a look at the quality and usability of the physical pieces. And when it comes to the components here, I am giving them a 9 out of 10. Look, I think there is some excellent quality here with these components and kind of what they all give you in this small package. So look, this is considered a fast-paced two-player game, right? Most two-player games are not going to have a ton of components, and so I love the overall profile of the game because all the components that you're seeing here are pretty much all of the components to the game. You got this board, you got the army units, you got the cards, and then the only other thing that you don't see is the player aids to this one, and that is it for the profile of the game. They have the insert right here where everything is going to fit in. The box itself is very small, typical like a two-player sized box, so it's very easy, it's very portable to move around. For me, some of the things that really stick out is when it comes to the board, I love the region lines and the sea lines that are on here are very distinct and very clear. You know exactly where the regions separate and go from region to region and sea to sea. I also like when you are setting up the game, they actually have the spots of where you are going to place your army units, so you do not have to reference the rulebook constantly when it comes to the setup. You can see on the board where you are going to set up your armies and what spot. I also like how they have the victory conditions printed on the board itself, right? So right here and down here at the bottom, so you know exactly what you need to do in order to win. I like how while you have these deck of cards, right, there's a bunch of iconography. They give you a bunch of ways to understand what this iconography is. So each player is going to have a card to see what all the cards in their hand do. They can see the strength value of these cards as well. And then they take this even one step further, guys, by giving you this nice player aid that gives you an accurate description of what each of these cards you have in your hand. They give you the base actions. They give you more of this information of how you are going to win the game. So the components that you are getting in this game, to me, while they are not necessarily top notch, the information, the way they present things, in the ease of being able to look at what you are trying to get is top notch to me, which I think they've done an excellent job with. You know, when it really comes to the usability of these pieces and components in the game, they have hit it out the park. So that's why I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the setup. So when it comes to the setup, we take a look at the time and ease of getting the game ready, and I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10. Look, this is an instant setup right here, intuitive, like I just talked about, intuitive setup with the board letting you know exactly where you need to put your pieces, all the different player aids, and there's only 7 cards that you have in your hand, so you're just taking all these different things, you're setting your pieces up on the board, and you guys are ready to jump in. I mean, this is less than 2 minutes here with the setup. So for me, it is perfect. It is quick. It is easy. 10 out of 10 for the setup. All right, guys, moving on to the length. So when it comes to the length, we are taking a look at how well the game length fits the overall experience, right? We are not necessarily taking a look at the overall time, but the pacing and satisfaction. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 9.5 out of 10. I was so close to giving this one a 10 out of 10. Look, I think there is excellent pacing with this game. They do a great job of literally from turn one, you are jumping straight into the action and getting this game on and rolling, right? There is no downtime. There are no turns that you're kind of like, okay, I'm just going to move my guys over here and we're going to avoid combat. It is like, no, in turn one, you guys 9 times out of 10 are jumping straight into combat and getting the game rolling. And because of that, that's why this game is dubbed as a very quick area control 2-player style game. Now, they do say 20 minutes on the box. The reason why I got to give this a 9.5 and not a 10 is most games I've played are going to be a little bit longer than that 20-minute tagline, more so like around that 30-minute range, because there are going to be some times that as you move through the game and you don't have very many units left, you are going to be taking your time looking at the cards that you have in your hand and trying to come up with some strategy. And so that's the only thing that's really going to slow the game down and make it a little bit longer than that 20-minute or that like ideal game length is what I would say. But all in all, in terms of the length of the game and the satisfaction that you are going to feel, I'm giving this one a 9.5. I love how it just jumps you straight into the action and gets the game rolling right away. Okay, guys, moving on to the difficulty. So when it comes to the difficulty, we are taking a look at how complex the rules and decision making are. This is going to be a reverse scale, right? So the higher the number, the more challenging and complex we feel the game is. The lower the number, the easier we feel the game is. And I'm gonna go ahead and give Punica Rome versus Carthage a 4 out of 10. Look, I think they do a great job here of making the rules streamlined for you. As I mentioned, not only do you have a card that tells you all of the iconography on every single card in your hand, you have that player aid, which goes into detail about all of these cards of exactly what they do. You can see on the board what your overall end game objectives are. The player aid gives you more information on that. So they have done an excellent job here with giving you a lot of this information, which really makes the game accessible and easy to understand and play. Now, what's also great is, look, there is still some strategic depth, and the strategy here is meaningful, right? There are some tension-filled moments, but I think when you strip kind of all of that stuff away and you are just looking at like how difficult it is to learn this game, I think this game, they've done an excellent job with this one. And for me in that category, look, I think there's some moderate rules, right? There is some, I wouldn't even really say moderate rules. I would say there's more moderate decision making, because once you get into the heat of things, there is going to be some strategic, there is some strategy involved. I think being able to get this one to the table, it is super easy. Look, for me, I think this could be considered a gateway game into like a war style, area control style game of just how easy it is. And being a 2-player game, you can travel with this one a lot of places. So for me, when it comes to the difficulty, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the replayability. So when it comes to the replayability, we take a look at how fresh and engaging the game feels after multiple plays. And I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Look, I think there's some good replayability with this one. Look, there's not going to be a whole lot of changes when you get this to the table multiple times, but I think definitely the playtime and how quickly the game progresses is really what helps this replayability out a whole lot. As I mentioned earlier, guys, like the factions themselves, yes, they do play a little differently because they do have different iconographies on their cards, but there is no asymmetric abilities with the units or things like that. It's very simple, it's very clean, it's very crisp. So after you finish this game and play it one time, you've basically seen and experienced everything this game has to offer. Where it stands out for me, where I can give it that 0.5 at 7.5, is like I mentioned, the quick play time and how quickly you guys engage into that battle. It makes it super fun because this game flies really quickly. You finish and then you're like, hey, it's really gonna take us 60 to 90 seconds to set this thing back up. Do you wanna go ahead and play again? And most people that I played with are like, sure, let's go. Let me try the other faction and see how they play. So, like, I think that helps a lot with the replayability hit this one, making it solid. So 7.5 out of 10 when it comes to the replayability. All right, guys, last category here. We're gonna move on to the price. So this was on GameFound. I will go ahead and link the GameFound page down below. You could have pre-ordered it. They're not taking any more pre-orders at this time. But on the GameFound page, this was going for 15 euros, which is basically 18 US dollars. And I think at that price point, guys, that is a 10 out of 10. When it comes to the price, we take a look at the value for the cost, not necessarily the price tag. But here, that is some excellent value, right? Everything that you're kind of getting the game in that price point in general for most two-player games. You know, when I was looking at other two-player games, I'm looking at like Sobek 2 players, I'm looking at Takedo Duo, I'm looking at Splendor Duel, right? Some of those other two-player style games kind of around this same size, and weight, I guess you could say a little bit. Those are all in that $25 price range. So for this to be under $20 at 18, that to me, with what you are getting, is a excellent price point. So 10 out of 10. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to my overall rating. I'm gonna go ahead and give Punica Rome versus Carthage an 8.5 out of 10. Look, I think this is a great two-player game, a great two-player head-to-head area control, card management style game. Look, Rome versus Carthage, Punica Rome versus Carthage is a compact yet satisfying war duel style game, right? It excels at delivering this quick head-to-head feel, this real decision making without demanding hours and hours of setup and play and things like that. Like if you guys are looking for a two-player game that's gonna have some cool strategy to it, that has a short play time, very easy to learn and set up, and is portable and you can really take anywhere, then this one is a standout and will be the game for you. All right, guys, let's talk about some things that I really enjoyed about this one. The first one, I've hinted at it a lot during this review, is just how quickly this game played. I love that as soon as I sat down on turn 1 or turn 2, you are jumping straight into the action, right? There's no 4, 5, 6 turns of where I'm setting my units up and I'm trying to stack 1 or 2 guys or 4 guys in an area to completely overwhelm my opponent. Like, with the way you can move in this game, you can pretty much be on top of your opponent and in those areas of influence very quickly. And so your opponent is going to have to respond in turn. So if not turn 1, by turn 2, you guys have engaged in some sort of battle via army or via fleet. And I just really enjoyed it. They weren't messing around with this one. You get down to the table, it engages you in that combat right away and gets the game moving quickly, getting you guys closer to the end game and the final turns or the final rounds, which is what I love so much, just getting this one, moving it along and how it plays. So that was the first thing that I really enjoyed. The second thing that I really enjoyed about this one is while it is so simplistic, the card play with this is so clever. So you have a hand of 7 cards and these cards are multi-purpose. You use them when it comes to battle, battle, you have to select one of these cards. The strength value on that card gets added to your units, right? But also, these cards do their own abilities as well. So it's this clever use of card play of you're having to decide, do I want to sacrifice one of my 6 cards in order to ensure I'm victorious in this battle? Or do I want to save it because if I'm the Romans, right, my 6 card allows me to move 3 or 4 of my Legion guys up at one time, and I can really spread my guys out around the board or stack my guys into one area. And so I really enjoy that. And when it comes to the battling, I have not mentioned this yet. You guys are going to both select a card. You have to play a card. You're playing it face down, and then you are flipping it over. So there's some cool like tension when it comes to that of like, what is my opponent gonna play? What cards has my opponent already played and discarded? So I can see what advantage I kind of have on my opponent as well. So I think they've done a great job here and a good, clever use of the card play. All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about some things that I particularly did not enjoy. There was only one thing that I particularly did not enjoy, and that was I felt like the game got to a point where it was almost too simple. Like after playing this a couple times, I just wish there was a little bit more, maybe in terms of the units or the factions themselves. Like the Roman units have this special ability, or the Carthage units have this special ability. Like maybe if there's more than one Roman in a region, they get +1 strength, or like whatever. I just wish there was something a little bit more than like all the Roman units felt the exact same, if that makes sense. Now, the Carthage does have a white unit that has a strength of 2 instead of a strength of 1, but I think for me, like, I wish the game kind of felt a little bit more thematic in that sense. Or maybe you just had different units, right? So like the Roman Legion had 2 different units and the Carthage had 2 or 3 different units. And of course that's gonna make the game a little bit more complex. But I think with that scenario, like even just giving the Romans or the Carthage factions like one specific asymmetric power that they could use at a given time, or like they had an advantage over the other, like if you have more units in the area, you get plus. I think that would, for me, would have satisfied the hunger I had for this game a little bit more. So like while I really enjoy this one, and I think this is a great 2-player game, I just hungered for a little bit more when it came to the depth and the asymmetric abilities, I guess you could say, the asymmetricness of the different factions here. But all in all, guys, look, as I mentioned earlier, 8.5 out of 10 for me. I think Punica Rome versus Carthage is a great standout game. It's got an excellent price point. You can take this one around. It's very portable. I think this is a great entry step into these war games, area control style games. If you are a board gamer and you want to get into these types of games, but you don't want to have to deal with the hours of setup, the big productions, all the miniatures, and the long play times, this is a game that gets straight to the point, gets exactly what you want into it at a very quick play time, and satisfies that niche for a lot of people that like these war style games. All right, guys, last but not least, look, I'm gonna ask the question. If I had the opportunity to back this game, would I do so? Look, I'm gonna be honest, I would have probably backed this one just on the price point alone, okay? Like I said, $18 US. I saw the shipping was only like $12 US. So when I looked at a game like this, and I don't think I would have necessarily backed it based off like what maybe the mechanics were or the artwork or something like that. Now I do enjoy the artwork from the Miko, so that kind of would have enticed me in a little bit, but definitely just from that price point alone and how accessible it is, I definitely would have backed Punica just on that alone. After playing this one and getting it to the table, yes, I would say if I backed it, I would have been very happy with my choice of getting that one to the table. All right, guys, well, look, that concludes my review here for Punica Rome versus Carthage. If you guys are interested in this one, again, I will go ahead and drop that campaign page down in the link below. They might open that pre-order page back up and you guys can get your hands on this one. They are at Essenspiel right now. If you guys are there, go ahead and check out their booth. They will be there and you can pick up a copy of this one. And hey, you won't even have to pay for shipping there. So you might get a great price. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit the notification bell, drop down in the comments below. Have you guys played this? Did you pre-order this one? Love to know your thoughts and opinions on that. And last but not least, guys, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe so you can keep bringing you some more awesome content. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.